Let's start here first, Albert, because obviously the Big Ten and the Pac-12 saying we'll see you in January significantly affects, at the very least, and when we're talking professional football, the non-playing talent evaluation portion of the NFL calendar. So the Big Ten and the Pac-12, as well as whatever the SEC, Big 12, and ACC decide what to do, impacts the NFL and will be on your radar screen and everybody else in the NFL information business. What are you hearing right now? Is this a possibility that what Justin Fields is doing? By the way, Michigan Wolverine parents apparently created a Twitter page today at Wolverine Family just to post a letter that they are demanding a sit-down virtually with Kevin Warren of the Big Ten, the commissioner, as well as the school president of Michigan. They want answers about what they base their decision on. Is there any there here?
Well, I think it's interesting at the very least. You know, I haven't talked to some people at those schools. It sure sounds like the problem isn't so much with the decision itself as it is with the lack of communication and the lack of reasoning. And, you know, they really felt like, I guess the best way you can put it is Charlie Brown with Lucy pulling the football away with the way the schedule came out last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago now, just, 5-6 days in front of the season getting canceled. And so, I think you've seen it from Ohio State parents, from Penn State parents, from Iowa parents, Nebraska parents, Michigan parents. I think those 5 schools are the ones right now. They just want answers. They want, reason why the Big Ten can't go forward and the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 can. And there's a lot on the line for a lot of these kids, and it's not just the kids who are going to the NFL. It's, the fifth-year seniors, the guys who may never play football again. And I think really that's what the biggest thing I think they want is to know that their kids were a priority in this decision. And that it wasn't just about liability. And I think above all else, they want to know that all the options to play the season in the fall were exhausted before this move was made. Because I know that there's a lot of skepticism in those schools about that part of it. They felt like there was more that could have been done to try to get the season played the fall.
Well, I guess, with news coming out about testing, the new saliva test that the NBA had been using with Yale, and it got FDA approval this past week, and it's been talked about either it's a game changer or a game modifier, depending on how, how I guess well-versed you are on all of this, and that I guess the conversation is that what the Big Ten and the Pac-12 did was premature, unless you read up about the apparent health report that the school presidents got. The Pac-12 presidents essentially told Pete Thamel that it was over. It was open and shut what they heard. Yeah. So what are you hearing on that front?
Well, I'll tell you what, Rich. Before all of this, before the last 6 months, I had no idea doctors disagree with each other as much as they do.
Right.
Like, it is unbelievable, like how massive the disagreement can be. I can just tell you, and I'm not a college football reporter. I know a lot of people in that level of the game, but I don't cover it day to day like somebody like Pete does. What I can tell you is, at the NFL level, it's, the way that they're combating it is through, like the constant testing, of course, and the daily testing is an important piece of it, and then following up with heart scans, with EKGs, with echoes, with all that sort of stuff. So if there is a problem, they'll catch it really, really, really quickly. And I think part of the issue at the college level has been one of resources. Like, your Michigan or Ohio State or your Clemson or your Alabama can afford to put the resources behind it to create something close, not maybe exactly like, but something close to what the NFL is doing. Whereas, can, say, a Minnesota do that? Can, say, a Rutgers do that? Can a Pitt do that? Can a Mississippi State do that? I think that's sort of, been part of the issue at the college level. And the thing about this saliva test that is, I think, really important, it's how quick the result gets turned around. It's instant, right? and then B, how cheap it is. And I've seen numbers where it's like $4 or $5 a test. And so I think the accessibility and the ability to constantly test athletes, that's why this is a game changer. Because if you're testing guys more consistently, and if you can do it because it's a little cheaper and it's more accessible, well, then that changes everything. Because that means, if you're doing it every day, you're going to catch it before you put a kid who has this heart condition out on the field. And I will say this, Rich, my wife is a cardiac nurse.
Yep.
This is a very serious condition. Myocarditis is a very serious condition. It's not to be taken lightly. So I think the risk would be, and it's not something you don't need you don't need a pre-existing condition to get it. Like it can, like COVID can. It's been proven COVID can lead to this condition. You don't need something pre-existing for it to happen. I think the key is as is the case with a lot of other things that pop up. With doctors who deal with football players, the key is catching it instantly. And if you can catch it instantly, that mitigates a lot of the problem.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.